A North Korean and a Russian walk into a bar. SMERSH is being brought back to life, starting with memories first. Russian elites preferred to live outside Russia. Another proof of that. Russian rivers are to get directors. Unthinkable. Russian governor turns out to be working for NATO. A mayor gets a grilling from Russian people, and bridges are near collapse. And the biggest news of the week comes from Russia's top propagandist, Skabeyeva. And that is definitely a revelation. Welcome to another crazy Friday Russian news update. My name is Konstantin, and this is Inside Russia. Every Friday I bring you the update of the news that I find important. And there have been so many crazy news this week that I had to leave many out, otherwise this video would be too long. Inside Russia is where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian, me. And again, welcome to Fridays. Give you crazy news updates straight out of the mad circus that Russia has become. But first things first, there's no such absurdity that could not be realized in Russia. Please remember that. Before I start with the news, as usual, there's a little joke. A North Korean and a Russian walk into a bar and look around at their options. The North Korean goes, "Bartender, what do you recommend here?" The bartender replies, to be honest with you, this place isn't that great for anything besides the beer. The beer is fantastic. North Korean and the Russian exchange matching looks, then both simultaneously walk out of the bar because they can't afford anything. And now the news. I call them crazy news from Russia, you know that if you watch my news daily, weekly. Lately, they have outgrown the word crazy. Now, many Russian news are more like revelations. They are odd, very odd, and they paint us very real picture of what's really happening in the country. Well, let me show you. Let me start with the first news, and that is about SMERSH. If you are a part of older generation, you might have heard of SMERSH. In Russian language, it literally translates death to spies, смерть шпионам. And SMERSH is something that Russians, at least decent Russians, don't like to talk about. Stalin created it in 1943 as Red Army's counterintelligence unit. SMERSH had license to kill. SMERSH officers executed whoever they liked. No responsibility and no accountability, no records. After World War II, SMERSH merged with KGB, becoming a part of KGB. SMERSH is a dark page in the history of my country. When I was growing up, once I asked my grandpa, who participated in World War II, what SMERSH was. I read it in the book. Do you know what his reaction was? He looked at me and asked where I heard that word from. Well, I told him from a book or something. He looked at me with a sad sight. He spat on the ground, turned around and walked away. He told me not to ever mention SMERSH anymore. He was disgusted. And such reaction was not uncommon among those who witnessed SMERSH at work in World War II. Well, such reaction was not uncommon until 2024. And this is what's happening now. Well, glory to the great. On April 19th, the governor of Volgograd province, Georgy Filimonov, celebrated the anniversary of the creation of SMERSH. The governor, Russian governor. He posted a Telegram message reminder that the main Directorate of Counterintelligence SMERSH was created by Stalin on April 19th, 1943. Let me quote the good governor. I am proud. I remember my grandfather, glory to the great, end quote. Last September, Filimonov announced that his grandfather served in SMERSH troops, then headed the KGB in Crimea. People like that, my grandfather spat on the ground about. And this is a revelation. No sane person back in the late USSR during perestroika years would ever think that times when government officials would be praising SMERSH proudly would come back. Not in our worst nightmares. We all were ashamed having history with SMERSH in it, and we were teenagers. But that was in 1989. In 2024, Russian people are proud of SMERSH all of a sudden, bragging about having ancestors who served in SMERSH. It shows you that, how far Russia has gone to the side of the darkness, and it is certainly a revelation. The next news comes from Perm, a tough Russian city. Let me tell you a little bit of Perm. It's a 1 million people city. It's a pretty good city, but it has very rough climate, very rough weather. It's located right in the middle of Russia on the mighty river called Kama, in the middle of the Ural Mountains. Just right here. It's, not a tropical paradise, let's put it this way. Rich in natural resources, but with very rough weather. It's probably like northern Canada. Perm is a special city because it used to be a center for Gulag system. Many residents are ex-convicts who served time and stayed in the city. Street crime is high and the city is not the prettiest. But that's not just Perm. Many Russian cities look like that. Again, it's a tough city, rugged. I know, I've been there many times. And by the way, my wife is from Perm. Her entire family is from Perm. Great people, my in-laws and my wife's family. Natasha was born not too far from Perm. Now, let's travel to Bali. Have you heard of Bali? This is where Bali is. It's very different. Very different from Perm. See, that's where Perm is, and that's where Bali is. Bali is Indonesia. It's tourist paradise. I mean, just look at it. This place is quite something else. It's very different from Perm. Again, this is Perm, and this is Bali. Perm, Bali. But what does Perm have in common with Bali? What connects them? This guy right here. Let me show. Check this guy out. Check what he says. Some people ask me if I'm ever coming back to Perm. Guys, this is how my Saturday mornings look like. Why the heck would I need Perm? Why the heck would I need Perm? And the guy didn't really say heck. He said something much more rough. I think you know what I mean. So, what's the big deal? A Russian fella is enjoying life far away from Perm on a beautiful Bali. He has all the rights to do that, right? Except for he is the son of ex-mayor of Perm, Alexei Demkin, who is now the deputy chairman of the government of Perm province and a member of a Russian ruling party called United Russia. This Bali fella right here, he is a revelation. Take a closer look at him. That's how Russian elites are treating Russia. They they steal money from taxpayers in Russia. And they live exclusively outside Russia in beautiful places like Bali. Or I can tell you a dozen of other nice places on the map of the world where Russian elites live and their families live and their children live. Not in Russia. They are just using the country. They're raping it. And that is a revelation for many. Another news is brilliant. Comes from my home city, Rostov-on-Don in the southern Russia. Oh, I love Rostov. It's located on a wonderful city called Don. Just check this out. It's beautiful. This place where I was born and I grew up and I spent a great deal of my life. This is Don River, and this is the embankment to the left, and a wonderful park to the right. In this further, there's a FIFA World Cup football stadium, and right in the middle, there's Don River. Rostov is located on a wonderful river called Don, and Mikhail, it's pretty famous in Russian. Mikhail Sholokhov won Literature Nobel Prize for the book called Don Flows Quietly. Some of you might have heard of it. River Don is wonderful, except for it's just without supervision. It just flows there quietly, and that is a big problem. The governor of Rostov region, Vasily Golubev, being live during a local radio station broadcast, announced his desire to create a new position in the province government, the director of Don River. I quote the good governor. I know a story when one of the province leaders expressed the idea that Don should have a river director. It has not been implemented, this idea, but it made sense, and perhaps it still does, unquote. According to Golubev, the director will help to improve the quality of the river's maintenance and improve its health, since everyone uses it in their own way now. Golubev also noted that Don is important for the region, and about 2 million residents of the region, the province, receive water from it. Now, folks, that is absolutely ingenious. 2 million residents receive water from Don, and many receive free of charge. No maintenance of River Don is done. River's health is unchecked, unheard of. Well, there are other government agencies, such as the Ministry of Use and Natural Resources, believe it or not, but there's such agency in Russia, and Rospotrebnadzor, it's their direct responsibility to supervise that the River Don and other rivers in Russia are used wisely and not abused, not polluted, and there's a utilities company that takes water from Don, cleans it, and sells it to customers. So it's not like they're using it for free. But you know what? There's one big problem. Those federal ministries do not obey orders from Rostov governor. They don't have the director of Don River position. Now, imagine possibilities. There are endless. People use water free of charge. You can sell them licenses. People fish in the river free of charge. You can sell them permits. People go to the beach and swim in the river in the summertime free of charge. Where's fairness in that? Oh, you can do so much if you install the director of the river. Oh, first of all, you're going to be getting subsidies from the federal government because, hey, you have the director with a department and employees and managers and secretaries and cars and equipment and perhaps helicopters because you got to fly back and forth the river and then you're going to check its health and all of a sudden, and it's all for the sake of the river maintenance and perhaps for river's oil change too, but I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that, please. And I think that that's a precedent. If Don River gets its own director, all other rivers in Russia will need their own directors too. Oh, imagine how other governors will be sincerely thanking good Governor Golubev right here for giving them this wonderful idea to have rivers directors as directors again need departments, financing, federal grants, deputies, managers, secretaries, cars, helicopters, dachas, whatever. Oh, them good Russian senators. Being proud of SMERSH, creating river directors, Russian governors are not really who we think they are. And that is another revelation. By the way, every single day I carefully select 9 news from Russia that I find important and make them available to Inside Russia patrons. So if you want to receive daily 9 updates of news that I find important, such as accidents, new laws, arrests, economic news, prices, you name it, everything important with my commentaries and analysis, then become the channel patron at patreon.com. I'll leave a link down below so you can click it and sign up. The next news is from Russian city on the border of Ukraine, and it's called Belgorod. Oh, you heard of it. You have heard of it. Since May of 2023, Belgorod has been under constant attacks and raids. That's the real face of Vladimir Putin's stability. Well, the residents of Belgorod are feeling that they're not safe. Not really safe. Who can blame them? And they're fleeing their homes in numbers. And the government has promised to help. But promising is not helping. It's different. Belgorod residents fleeing the war, they face refusals when trying to rent an apartment in nearby cities. And not so nearby, there are numerous reports that Belgorod residents who fled the war to Voronezh and St. Petersburg, they're reporting mass refusals to rent housing. The owners of one of the apartments in St. Petersburg, in response to a bad review, raised the rental price for refugees about 30% and noted that you Belgorod beep, 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 beep. Not nice words here. Made the national news, by the way. According to the witnesses, landlords rent housing to Belgorod residents with reluctance because they are afraid that the Belgorodians will not be able to consistently pay their bills, their rents, due to problems with employment, and for a good reason. The revelation here is that Belgorod residents have learned that the karma law exists because Belgorod residents themselves refused renting to the residents of nearby Shebekino and Graivoron, the first towns in Russia to fall under constant shelling. And the residents of those towns fled their towns and ran to Belgorod, and the Belgorodians turned them down. And now other Russians are doing absolutely same. It's karma for you. But wait, don't leave Belgorod. I actually have some good news coming from Belgorod. The city center, including flower beds near the province government building, this official building, is planned to be decorated with thousands of begonias, pelargoniums, marigolds, and other wonderful, beautiful flowers. Belgorod City Hall has already placed a public procurement procedure worth 17 million rubles. That's in Belgrade. With human catastrophe happening right now, people losing their homes, their apartments, their food, businesses, cars, refugees have no places to go. Everyone is a huge mess in Belgrade. And the government spends tens of millions of rubles on flowers. You know why? Because it's all about aesthetics. You know, gotta look good. Flowers in the middle of Belgrade and all around is in fire. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering how you can help this channel, buy me a coffee or an English breakfast tea. That'd be fantastic. Very much appreciated. I'll put the link down below. Thank you. The next news is from Russia's southern province of Stavropol. Oh, it's gonna be good. Revealing. Actually, you know what? Forgive me. I'll retract. It's a very disturbing news. You see, I keep telling you that Russian governors are good. Good governor this, good governor that, you know, Rostov governor. Turns out that some Russian governors aren't that good. Some are actually bad. And who brings this news to us about bad governors? No, not the government. People! Check this out, folks. You're gonna be shocked.
Уважаемый президент Российской Федерации Владимир Владимирович Путин, сообщаем вам о возможной противозаконной преступной деятельности губернатора Ставропольского края Владимира Владимирова, возможно, работающего в сговоре с внутренними врагами, иноагентами, по указанию руководства зарубежных антироссийских центров в интересах спецслужб Украины и стран НАТО, которые нацелены на дискредитацию действующей власти и дестабилизацию общественно-политической обстановки в РФ. Так, со своим холодным сердцем губернатор Ставропольского края Владимиров выгоняет нас, ветеранов труда, инвалидов, детей войны, на улицу с малолетними детьми. Не оставайтесь в стороне, помогите нам.
People, they know. They wouldn't lie. So the governor, Vladimir Vladimirov, not Vladimir Vladimirovich, that's Putin. Vladimir Vladimirov is the governor. The governor is possibly working with domestic enemies, foreign agents. I wonder when foreign agents became domestic enemies, but hey, the people, they must know better. He is guided by foreign anti-Russian centers working in the interest of NATO and Ukraine with the goal to discredit acting government. Think about this. This is such an evil goal, to discredit acting government. This is the worst thing can happen. This bad governor united with foreign agents and some anti-Russian centers, whatever they are, in NATO, in Ukraine. And it's right in front of our noses in Stavropol province. And this is the governor. The governor is kicking them out onto the streets. Okay, so the beginning was great. At first, when I started hearing these words, foreign agents, NATO, interest of Ukraine, I thought, wow, the bad guy governor. Finally, someone is telling us the truth. But they ended it pretty disappointing. He's working with the enemies because he's kicking us out on the street. Him, evil, he's kicking us out. That's why he's bad. This video has made splashes in Russia, but for a very short time. Once, one-hit wonder, so to speak. But these outspoken people all of a sudden shut up and disappeared, as if they didn't exist. They made a huge mistake, you see. Russian governors cannot be bad, cannot work with the enemies, cannot promote interests of NATO or Ukraine. Russian governors are anointed to the governors' thrones by the Tsar. You see, the Tsar has the big throne, he's the big boss, and the governors are anointed to him, by him, to their smaller thrones, okay? They're the suzerains, but they are kings in their own small kingdoms in the provinces. And the Tsar, he does not make mistakes, you know. If, God forbid, a governor were turn out to be rotten, how would it make the Tsar look? So the begging people made a mistake, and then they disappeared. Well, that's relatively easy in a country where politicians worship SMERSH proudly and want it reinstated. No accountability and no records, remember? By the way, notice how this kid on the right wears blue shirt and the lady behind him wears yellow. Does it remind you of colors of a certain country, perhaps? That looks like discrediting the army. 7 years for that, by the way. So I think we won't be hearing from these good folks for a long time now, for about 7 years. And what is the revelation? Complaining to the Russian government on Russian government in Russia. It's not the smartest thing to do. The next news comes from the city of Orsk, that many of you know by now. I made a couple streams about how Orsk was flooded. It was flooded recently because it's super expensive, high-tech, recently built dam that was destroyed by an unknown species of rodents. Some even start saying that those rodents were genetically engineered in secret laboratories that belong to the evil Americans and are located in Ukraine in the depth of the mountains somewhere. But that's not confirmed. Well, in reality, the officials, Russian officials, stole most of the damn money. That's an easy explanation of what really happened there. And the mayor of Orsk, Kazupitsa, who had evacuated his family to Dubai before the flooding started, faced the people. And this is what happened.
Никакой, до сих пор, никакой помощи. Муж у меня за что погиб? За то, что ты жопу свою тут прикрывал. Не стоял, краснел. Конечно, мне плохо, блядь. Мне плохо. Потому что не дозвониться, ничего не сделал. Никто не отвечает. А вы сидите, у вас все хорошо только. Имейте совесть уже. Вы в белой рубашечке, а мы ходим 2 недели без денег, без всего. Без воды. На ВПшку нету денег. Муж за что погиб? Муж за что погиб? За то, что вот именно ты сидишь в чистых штанах, и твой сын в Дубае. Не стыдно?
I actually like this video so much. I watched it a few times. A few times. I liked everything about it. The boldness of the woman who has nothing to lose, whose husband was killed in Ukraine. The body language of the mayor, how uncomfortable he was feeling. I love it. But, you know, check it out again.
Никакой, до сих пор, никакой помощи. Муж у меня только. Имейте совесть уже. Вы в белой рубашечке, а мы ходим 2 недели.
You are in a white shirt. You know, your son is in Dubai and then... Not feeling comfortable, are you, Kazupitsa? Well, I can answer that lady's last question. What did my husband die for? Well, lady, no one really knows. Well, actually, we do. He died for the people who are sitting in the Kremlin. You know, the revelation here is that Russian mayors and governors don't know what's coming. And when it comes and hits them, they're not going to like it. And this video proves that. And the next news is about bridges. Russia is a large country and it has many bridges. And it has many kinds of bridges, different bridges, river bridges, pedestrian bridges, road bridges, highway bridges. And this is a typical Russian bridge, one of the many thousand bridges. It's located in the far east of Russia. in between, I believe, in Irkutsk and Vladivostok. And this is how the bridge looks like, and it crosses a major highway. This particular bridge is in the Far East again, but it looks like it can be found all over Russia. I would say this is a typical Russian bridge. Again, have you enjoyed it? Nice. Take a closer look. Any road engineers out here? Can you estimate the shape of this bridge? Yet no, not good, not good. The revelation is that when you attack a neighboring country, start spending all your money on war and stop fixing and maintaining everything. That's when you get devastation and desolation in the entire country. Whew. Incredible. Folks, you gotta understand, it's not just the bridges, it's everything. Bridges is, just a picture. It's everything. It's everything. It's the roads, it's the power plants, it's the water treatment plants, it's the sewages and pipelines, everything. Every day, I'll remind you that every day I give you 9 news of what I find important happening in Russia, and trust me, things break a lot. So sign up and you will be the first one to learn what broke in Russia on that certain day. The next news is quick but important. Russian Federal Police now requires access to all bank transactions and telephone calls of Russian citizens. All calls, all transactions of all citizens. At will, without court orders. Dear Federal Police, if suddenly the information you know about me will seem insufficient to you, then just to make sure, in the mornings I like black coffee, closer to Americano in strength, half a tablespoon of sugar and a glass of cold water. I prefer heat to cold, and I don't drink any alcohol, and dogs over cats. The revelation is that if you let your politicians out of control, at the end, you will get this, exactly this picture. No freedoms and a complete disaster. Police coming into the banks and getting all kinds of information on you without court order and using it for any purposes they want. Folks, this is a warning to you. Don't let your politicians out of control. If you do, you'll end up just like us, Russians. The next news comes from cemeteries. No, I'm wrong. It comes from the Ministry of Ecology. It's about cemeteries. Cremation, to be exact. Meet Oleg Prokopenko, genius from the Ministry of the Ecology. He is department's director, not just your average, small-time potato. No. He's a big guy, by the way. He knows what he talks about. And this is what he talks about.
Это тепло, соответственно, для отопления прилегающей территории, вспомогательных помещений и прочее. Понимаю, что это новое кладбище, соответственно, АБК, склады, персонал. Крематорий может быть задействован, в том числе по проекту предусмотреть, чтобы это тепло не терять, а на некий рециклинг и на отопление необходимых помещений, в том числе дополнительно. Ну и это считается экологичным, то есть когда мы лишнее количество яйцового не выбрасываем и, соответственно, не ведем дополнительное отопление, не расходуем там тот же газ или электроэнергию.
I was thinking that ministry ecology is about ecology, but this fellow is
кто-то говорит, что это может цинично, но с другой стороны,
trying the shoes of Ministry of Energy.
тепловой энергии, оно не цинично, ни при каких обстоятельствах, как и экологичность этих процессов.
In the sci-fi movie called Dune, the indigenous people, Fremen, sucked all water out of dead bodies due to incredible lack of water on the planet. But there's plenty of water in Russia, rivers, lakes, you know. But Russia has a different problem. It's not warm enough. You see, it's all about keeping heat, and it's not cynical, according to Papenka. So, good Oleg Papenka puts 2 and 2 together. Not enough heat, many people, conservation, new technologies. If all put together equals additional sources of heat. There's something is missing in this equation. I can't figure out what. Let me just give you a second. Aha. I got it. SMERSH reborn and reinstated. Remember the good governor earlier talking about that? Now the formula is complete. Everything makes sense. Add SMERSH into the equation and you'll get plenty of heat. And the revelation here is, if you're still in Russia, run. Well, that's hardly a revelation for me and other fellow refugees who have already run. Okay, before we move to the last news, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please let me know what you think of this news selection down below in the comments. Do you like the news? Anything you liked more? Perhaps something you didn't like? Let me know in the comments. I appreciate it very much. Feedback is hugely important for me for 2 reasons. First, it motivates me, inspires me. And when I see that so many people take interest in watching and commenting on the newsletter. And second, feedback gives me direction of, I'd like to finesse my selection of the news. And the last news is the biggest news today. Well, watch it yourself, and then I'll talk about it.
Не до конца имеет значение, что конкретно происходит. Обратите внимание, происходить может одно и то же событие, но интерпретация этого события имеет значение. Это то, что в современном мире, наверное, принято называть эпохой постправды, когда есть правда, или, может быть, правды нет. Ну, то есть не важно, что был нанесен удар. Ну как? Важно, но не в этом сакраментальный смысл. Важно, какое именно мы с вами или они для нас сформируют отношение к этому удару. Их интерпретация. Наш удар по Харьковской области, проявление агрессии. Для нас все то, что мы сейчас делаем в Харьковской области, это создание санитарной зоны. И если мы с вами считаем себя патриотами, то лучше относиться к государственной точке зрения и работать на государство. Это тоже кто-то назовет наверняка пропагандой, но это будет пропаганда здравого смысла, пропаганда интересов твоей страны, пусть даже и агрессивное навязывание интересов твоей страны. Объективной информации не существует. Есть только информация, за которую, к сожалению, кто-то заплатил. Есть только информация, которая преследует, к огромному сожалению, чьи-то цели.
You know, this is Skabeva, one of Russia's top propagandists. And she's telling the audience of young students these things that are not new to me. They're not shocking. She admits right on camera that if you're a patriot, then you should support the state. The state, not the country. You see, there's a huge difference. The state is the government, is the vertical of power, it's all this gang, but not Russia, the country. So if you're a patriot, you should support the state, not the country. She says that aggressive promotion of our interests is good. She teaches the students that objective information does not exist. She says that whatever information gets out there, someone benefits and pays for it. And it's all about the angle at which propaganda shows things. Heck, she even admits that there's propaganda, she says it in plain and simple words, on camera. Is that clear? Everything that we do is good, and everything they do, they, who we call the enemies, is bad, no matter what it is. We and they do. Killing is acceptable if those who are killing are us. But if it is them killing us, then killing is not acceptable. There is no truth. It doesn't matter what is happening. What matters is how we interpret it. She's not afraid to say that right on the camera, in front of everyone. Knowing that the video will become public, she has no fear. That's not what shocked me. That's not why I made this news the biggest news of the week. She kind of confessed on camera, but we knew before what she was saying on camera, so that's not a secret. What shocked me was her words. They say our attacks on Kharkiv is an act of aggression, but for us, our attacks are creating a sanitary zone. This is how they call the attacks executed on Kharkiv. Creating a sanitary zone. As if the Ukrainians living in Kharkiv, regular people just like me, just like you, as if they were insects. I've been to Kharkiv many times. I did business there. I met people there. Place is dear to me. Kharkiv used to be a happy place. A large city, a former capital of Ukraine. Children played there all the time. Teenagers fell in love, went on dates. Babushkas were playing with their grandchildren. And then came the Russians. And they started striking Kharkiv with bombs and rockets, destroying everything and killing people. But to the Russians, that is not aggression, but just creating a sanitation zone. And that's what propagandists are brainwashing Russian people's heads with. Creating a sanitation zone. This simple phrase of the top propagandist Skabeva is my biggest revelation. It shows how far I have drifted from the Russians. To me, striking a city with missiles, killing people is pure aggression and murdering. And there cannot be two opinions about that. And I'm not saying this on anyone's behalf. No one is paying me. I'm not propaganda. I'm not acting in anyone's interests. I know the truth, my truth, and I want to share that truth with everyone. I want to get it out. I'm just a father, a husband, and a son, and I'm thinking of living in an area that Russians call creating a sanitary zone. Makes me freeze out of fear, just thinking about that. It shows how far I have drifted away from the country I used to live in. I'll never call bombings creating a sanitary zone. In my world, it's black and white. It's pretty simple. It's aggression, it's war, it's invasion, and it's pretty unbelievable. So to me, this last week was definitely full of revelations. And this is it. Now you sign up to become the patron of Inside Russia to receive 9 daily news so you can stay informed every day, and check out another video I made documenting how I was leaving Putin's Russia for good. I was in a great hurry. I had 36 hours So the link is right there. And Carthago delenda est.